Hey guys, so I am filming a little week in the life sort of deal, which I typically don't do. I usually do all my vlogging all in one day. So this is a little bit different for me, but should be fun. And as I take you through the week, I want to kind of just concentrate on the little bit of things every day that I'm doing to help move my small business forward towards a launch. And the major topic this week is yet again changing wick direction. And the big topic is single wicking dead? Stand by. Cat was in the closet. I did get some more wicks delivered today, and I expect some more to be delivered later this week. So I want to do a little bit of testing and trial before I start mixing fragrance back in. So I'm kind of going back to basics a little bit here. I got some wicks here. Long and short of it is I'm not really prepared for this segment. So let's just wick the darn jar, pour the darn wax, and be done with it for today. I don't have a double wick setter from Norden yet. As long as I decide this is ultimately what I want to do, I will pick up a double wick setter from them. Of course I will, because I love Norden and I love their tools. Their site is linked in my beacons, by the way, just in case you're wanting to check them out. And I always have that link to my beacons list in the description of my channel and in the description box also, just in case you ever want to check out any of the tools that I use. This is not sponsored or affiliated with them in any way, but I've bought several different wick setters from Norden already because I've tried a couple different jars. So they have great service. Their products are great. So if you're looking for really cool wick setting tools, you should check out Norden Candle. This is actually a very good example of what I've been seeing. So you can clearly see with this particular fragrance and wick, this is, of course, the IGI 6006 wax, which I know can sometimes have a little bit of gray smoke, and that's fine. However, this is with an HTP 105 with a gourmand type fragrance. This is the second burn. So it's within 4 hours of burning at this point. The flame is pretty darn active for an HTP wick, in my opinion. It's an inch tall or more. There's no mushroom here, but there's quite a bit of smoke happening. So it's my opinion that this is not going to work. It's likely, even though it's smoking, it's an underwicked candle that's working really, really hard. And yes, I could wick up, obviously, right? I have 1212s, and we may end up doing that at some point. However, and I know that HTPs and 6006 wax, they often go down before they go out, but this is clearly already starting to tunnel. I'm not confident that this candle would recover, and we would end up having kind of an maybe not unsafe, but we would definitely be wasting some wax. 106 degrees, 108 degrees. Let's check the side where the wick is leaning towards. 116. So even with the wick leaning this way, I'm only getting a max of 116 degrees. So it's my humble opinion that this is an underwicked candle. We could go up to a 1212, but I'm not confident that's going to work. So that's one reason why we're trying double wicking. I also think it's really important to remember, as someone who's learning a new craft and trying to do it well, that it's okay to try different things and for them to not work out. Not nailing it on the first try doesn't mean anything in this situation. And it's not a failure. You're just collecting more and more data. So that is why we're going to give double wicking a try. It doesn't mean that it's the right answer. It doesn't mean it's the final answer. It could take me weeks more to figure out that this won't work, but I don't see the harm in trying. So we're going to give it a go. I'm not hurting anyone other than potentially myself by trying this out. So no harm, no foul. Okay, good morning. It's another day in this week in the life vlog. I have gotten myself like halfway already, like done all my skincare and brushed my teeth and all that happy stuff. Put on my SPF, of course. However, I do like to try my best to still put on a little something, a little base, a little brow, a little blush. Those are kind of like the non-negotiables for me. So I'm going to quickly do that, and then we can move on to the next task of the day. I don't do very much with my brows these days. They honestly probably really need to be waxed and trimmed, but that would require me making time for it. So that's a me problem. But my regular thing is to just put some gel in them. I still like the laminated brow look, so don't come for me if you don't like it. I don't have dark brows, so to me, doing this helps them take a little bit more shape. If I was actually going anywhere like to a dinner or I don't know, any kind of occasion, I would use a pencil and also just do a little bit of, filling them in. Okay, I'm going to set it down with this Charlotte Tilbury dupe. It's from Emco. They sell this at our local grocery store. It's pretty good. It's not the cheapest drugstore setting spray, but I love the Charlotte Tilbury one, so I wanted to see how it compared. I think it's pretty good. I am not certain that it's exactly the same, but it's pretty good. Quick little lash, nothing crazy, just because we're here anyways. I'm trying to decide right now. It's like the game I have to play every day. Should I go get my workout out of the way so then I can like feel good that I got that done, or should I go straight to the office? Something in there. I am working on my expenses so far for the year. Gentle reminder, if you're also trying to launch a small business, or you have a small business and you're not very good at keeping track of your expenses, here's your reminder from your fellow small business girly. Track your expenses. You're gonna need it. I just picked this one up. Okay, and moving over to the other jar I had tested this morning. This again is the second burn for this jar. It's a non-fragranced candle. I'm just testing for safety overall and performance of these double wicks. This one is an HTP 41. Overall, I think it's still good. After 6 hours, there is still a waste on this candle. We'll see if it opens up the rest of the way. It's my understanding that HTPs open up a little slower than CDs do. So with the next burn though, I would expect this to be softening up and going away. Flames have been like this pretty much the whole time, right around, I guess, 1/4 of an inch, really tame. This wick over here had a little mushroom on it. It did fall off, unfortunately, into the wax, which is not ideal, but that's my fault for not trimming it when I should have. So lesson learned there. If you don't trim your wicks, consider trimming them. Yeah, the temps are the highest temps on the sides of the jar, about 126 degrees. So that's still well within the safe zone. So as it continues to widen the melt pool and warm up more with the next burn, I would expect those temperatures to rise a little bit more and go ahead and soften these sides down, but we'll see about that. But overall, I'm happy with how it's going right now. We're going to burn it again to see if it can still be a contender for adding fragrance. I did conclude the test on this CD3 double. It did get too hot last night on the second burn. I believe it went up to 165 on one side. So even though everything else looked really good, the flame was really safe looking, melt pool looked good, etc. I think it would probably be a mistake to continue forward with that one and add fragrance to it at this point. So I have concluded the test on those. So where that leaves us is kind of at this point with double wicks, with what I have and what wicks I have coming, it leaves us with HTPs and LXs. So we will see about the LXs once they arrive here. Hello. Okay, it is a while later. It is still Thursday. We've done some cleaning, cleaned the bathrooms. We've been on a walk. We went to the mailbox. We've had lunch, or he has had lunch. I have not had lunch. And it's now about 2:30. So I'm actually working on making him his typical oat and banana cookies. So I'm going to do one banana. I'm hopeful that he will take another nap, probably a shorter nap. We are starting to go through the 2-to-1 nap transition, I hear, so there's a little instability with the sleeping schedule at the moment. This is just a regular jar that I need to finish cleaning out, but I had these old diffuser bottles. I want to reuse these, so I'm going to go ahead and get them all cleaned up, get the labels removed, and then add some of my own new scents to them. So we can, you know, test the scents, but also just enjoy them here at the house and not be wasteful. So. How'd that happen? Oh, no crying. Good morning. Okay, it's a new day. It is now Friday. Happy Friday, everyone. I received this CandleScience order in yesterday. I did not have time to open this yesterday, and I just went upstairs to start working on a couple of tasks and noticed that I need some of the stuff that's in here. So let's quickly open it up and get our supplies out. Oh gosh, peanuts. Such a love-hate relationship with the peanuts. Okay, we have some fragrance oils. All right, I need a bag. What am I doing? I am smarter than this. Like, I know better. Okay, so had to take a brief intermission to get rid of the peanuts and such, and I just went ahead and unboxed everything just for ease and for time's sake. I just have another bottle of the EcoBase Reed diffuser solution because I'm planning to for a couple of batches of mini diffusers to send out to some focus groups for testing here soon. And then I needed to up on some of my candle fragrance, white eucalyptus, sea and stone, ambered vanille. And I also needed to add a full size for one of my diffuser fragrances, the Glacier Lily. And then I also, because my order was large enough, when is it not, got a sample of Celle de Mer. And I want to smell it because this one seems pretty popular. Ooh, that's so nice. I see why it's popular. That's really, really nice. Really nice. How do I describe that? It's like being on a beach sitting next to like a really hot man with really good cologne. It's like relaxing and tropical, but like elevated, not sweet at all. I want to just compare it really quick to Sea and Stone. See, I love Sea and Stone so much. This is a little bit more earthy smelling Sea and Stone, salty, like sea mist and grass and moss. This is a little bit more, what's the word? It's got a little bit more of a cologne smell, which I love. Wish I had known about this earlier and had tried it earlier. I'm not changing any of my fragrances now. Mark my words, I'm not going to do it. But I would not be shocked if this showed up in a candle later or in like a limited edition to see how it went. What I really needed out of this box was these LX wicks. I have an LX10 and an LX8. We are on our double wicking journey, so we need these to pour a couple of no fragrance testers to see how these behave, flame and heat wise and melt pool wise. So this is what I really needed. And I'm also starting to run a little bit low on wax. So I went ahead and grabbed another slab of wax. Let's take this stuff upstairs and get another no fragrance tester poured and maybe try to work on a couple diffuser things. Now we've had lunch and changed his diaper 3 times in about the last hour. We're gonna go to the grocery store real quick. Also, I feel really, really smart for thinking about this, but I realize now that so many people out there probably do this, but our son blew out the knees in almost all of his pajamas now that he is like a master crawler. And I was like, oh no, all these pajamas are ruined. Not the whole pajamas ruined, just the bottoms. So we chucked all the bottoms. I got him a couple new pairs of pajamas, and we're reusing the t-shirts with a couple pairs of shorts from Walmart. So, you know, just in case you also have this issue. Good afternoon. Let's pour some mini diffusers for testers. I'm very excited to get these poured and labeled so I can get them shipped out to my test groups. Let's do it. First, we have to unpackage all of these. A little annoying, I know. Okay, it is sometime later, and I have remelted one of my no fragrance testers, and I have some additional wax melting up here, so I can go ahead and pour this. Okay, that's good. Into the jar that we wicked earlier. My last pair of gloves, you know what? I'm going to save those. It's not so bad at this point. It's not really very hot anymore. Go to about 7.5 ounces for these testers. And I will also go ahead and clean out this jar because I found that it's a lot easier. Like those wicks just pop right out. So what I had mentioned earlier and did not record properly is that I have tried a few different wick families now with this wax in this jar. I've tried Ecos, which I did not like at all. And then I moved to HTPs, which has been the bulk of my testing because I had researched and read that HTPs work pretty well for this wax type. And for the most part, I really like how HTP performs with this wax in the jar. In the beginning, I really liked how the flames looked. They were really tight, really controlled. However, I obviously started lower on the scale or the wick ladder and needed to move up in wick size for basically all fragrances to try to get a full melt pool. So no matter what I did at this point, I've gone up to, I think, a 1212 HTP, which I feel like is pretty high for a jar this size. Maybe I'm wrong. But I've gone up that high and still I'm not able to get a full melt pool on any fragrance. It doesn't matter what kind of fragrance it is. If it's like a really resinous or like heavy, cool burning, hot burning, whatever, citrus, gourmand, ozonic, it doesn't matter. None of them have been able to give me a full melt pool. And I don't think it is the wick, and I don't think it's the wax. I think it's this jar. The options I felt were not to go up any higher in that series, unfortunately, because I was starting to get flames that were a little higher than I wanted, like exceeding an inch. And I was also getting more smoke, but I still wasn't getting enough outward heat to create the melt pool that I need. So the options are to change wick series, which is still possible. We can try CD single wicks. I haven't tried those yet, but I have a big selection. So that's an option. Or to try to double wick. So I have elected to try to double wick, even though it is not advised maybe for a jar of this size. I have seen a lot of people do it, and I want to at least try it. So I started with LX12s initially because that's just what I had on hand. And I had double wicked with those in the past with a different wax. Tried that. It was too hot, way too hot. I didn't have the next size down in LX at the time. So then I moved into CDs because I had really small CDs. So I tried CD3s. It was great on the first burn, looked really good. Flames were controlled, short, stubby, a little bit more active than an HTP, but it gave me a nice melt pool. It was controlled, it was safe. So I was like, great, I'm going to do it one more time. So I burnt it one more time. And the second time around, it was too hot. Okay. So next I tried HTP 41s. And that looked good initially on the first burn as well, but it was looking like the waist was not expanding very well. So I started to get a little hesitant. Burned it a second time, it still didn't expand all the way. And I was like, okay, well, HTPs go downward before they go out. So I burnt it one more time. It still never expanded the waist of the melt pool all the way. So, and the temperatures never got above, I think, like 122 or 125 degrees. So it's just not hot enough to create a full melt pool. So the next step is to double wick test an LX10 and an LX8. So I have poured the 10 earlier today, and the 8 is the one that we're working on at this moment. I'm actually going to go ahead and pour it. Hang on one second. All right, solid work, kids. Okay, so as I was saying, the next step is to do an LX8 and an LX10. So both of these have now been poured. Let me make sure I've turned everything off. I have. And we will burn these both tomorrow a couple of times to see if they are viable candidates to move forward with fragrance. These are all unfragranced, by the way. I really am taking it back to basics, really get a good foundation before I start adding fragrance in, because as you can probably guess, it gets expensive. So that is why I have elected to add remelt and repour into my testing cycle. Of course, with fragrances, I'm very careful about that. And I don't remelt and repour like several times. It's once or twice maybe, but I'm really careful about making sure that the integrity of the fragrance is good. And for the most part, we're testing the wick performance at this point with the jar and the wax. I'm not too worried about actual fragrance right now. I know all these fragrances throw well. So as long as we can nail safety, flame performance, I guess those are the big ones, melt pool, those types of things, then we will move into adding our fragrances in with these. But my goal is just to have 2 or 3 solid options. So after we test these LXs, if that does not go well, I will also consider trying an HTP double wick, although I'm curious about that one. I think it could be too hot, perhaps. Or that one may not give me a full melt pool either. I really am not sure, because I literally have not had one full melt pool with an HTP wick so far in this jar. So I think it's just, this jar may not be meant to be single wicked. It might be dead for me. We will see. I don't really care, to be honest, if it's single wick or double wick. I would obviously prefer to do singles, because that's just another added expense, right? Doing another wick. But what we need is a candle that burns correctly and well and safely. So as long as, if it's double but it doesn't get too hot and the flame is safe, then I'm going to do it. Flames are a little bit more active, still a fine size. The 10 has a little bit more of a mushroom. Still no really mushrooms over here. This hang up and waste is pretty persistent. This is getting smaller and softer. Melt pools do look to be getting a little bit deeper. Highest temperatures I measured 165 over here, and I think this one was 160, 143, 130, 177, 160.